Good morning, and apologies for my tardiness this morning. I'm just trying to clear some space. So welcome into a new week. Do pop on and say hello if you are joining us live. Do pop on and say hello if you are joining us from elsewhere. And welcome to another week. So last week was quite a week, really. We started off with a late Facebook Live on Monday because I was helping my sister who tried to chop her finger off, and I can now reveal that the late Facebook Live on Friday was because I'd had to dash and take my granddaughter to school because Mummy and Daddy were off to the labour ward. So yeah, as I shared over the weekend, our gorgeous new grandson, whose name is Edison Lester, was born. That's a big name, isn't it, for a little boy? But he's going to grow into it because he's a handsome chap. He was born on Friday morning. So it was quite a roller coaster of a week last week. And so this week is going to be a busy week because I now need to catch up with all the things that I just had to let go last week because I needed to be with family. So it's lovely to be here this morning at the start of this new week, as well as a grandson. I think my lovely family have almost also given me their stinking cold. Thea, having started school, came home with the sort of obligatory stinking cold that you get when you start school. Obviously passed it on to Mummy, and I think they've probably both passed it on to me. So feeling very tickly throat and sore throat this morning. It's sort of been hovering for a day or two, but I think this morning it's like, oh, great stuff. But that won't prevent us from playing. I've got a cup of tea on hand. Yes, he was a good size. Everybody that I've told has all gone, ooh. We do that, don't we? Ooh. Yeah, so yes, he's beautiful. So I'm actually going to start the beginning of this Facebook Live, and if she doesn't come on live, I can sort of point her in the direction. I actually had the question, funnily enough, on Friday about had I got any stamp sets for sympathy cards. So we're whooshing straight the way around, and I said to her, actually, I'm not home at the moment, I'm dealing with the other end of the circle of life. But actually it is a question I get asked about quite a bit, because I think sympathy cards are one of those cards that we have to make, but it's not something that we think, woohoo, let's make a whole pile of sympathy cards. So it's something that we sort of struggle a little bit with. So I did go through my pile of stamps, and I have pulled out some that have got some really quite nice sort of sympathy greetings on, just as a, here are some ideas. Prize Peony is a beautiful stamp set that would be beautiful for using for sympathy cards. The paper pack that they created with this suite of products is in Petal Pink, and Highlander is in Petal Pink and Grey Granite, so those sort of really subtle tones anyway. So it's beautiful for birthdays and anniversaries and weddings, but it's also a good go-to for sympathy cards. And it has this really nice "so sorry for your loss" on it, which is a nice sentiment. And you've also got things like "my thoughts are with you." So there's one really good stamp set if you're looking for something for sympathy cards. We're not actually going to go on make sympathy cards today, but I just thought I'd do a quick run through of some of the things I've just grabbed off my shelf to answer that question, what can we use for sympathy cards? The Timeless Tulips, again, I've done one of these in sort of monotone sort of colours that worked really nice for a sympathy card with the tulips, but you don't necessarily have to use those stamped images. It's just about the sentiment. And may the memories of yesterday comfort you today. That's a really lovely one. So yeah, so that's quite a nice sympathy sentiment. Here's a card that's got some really good sentiments on, and it's got here, "Words cannot express the deep sorrow felt on your behalf." So again, and I'm here if you need me. So again, that's a nice one. The Gorgeous Poses, which is the stamp set that goes with the kit. Wishing you comfort and peace at this time. Morning, Michelle. We're just picking out some of the sentiments and things that we've got that you can use with sympathy, because it was a question I was asked last week. Woven Heirlooms has got this: prayers and heartfelt sympathy are with you and your family. So again, really nice font on that one. Sort of nice, sort of vintagey sort of feel to it. And then the Well Said. You've got a sympathy stamp just here, that if you wanted just something relatively... you know, you've got heartfelt, you could have heartfelt sympathy, sending heartfelt sympathy wishes, you know, probably don't do hooray sympathy wishes, but then you've got the little bits that you could add inside as well. And there was one there that sort of said sending healing thoughts your way, and whatever, whenever I'm here for you, know that love, prayers and caring surround you today. So there are some ideas that I've just grabbed off my shelf. So the Well Said, Woven Heirlooms, Gorgeous Poses, here's a card, Timeless Tulips and the Prized Peony. So those are all stamp sets that have got some good ideas in them if you want to just pop a sympathy sentiment onto a card. So that was that question asked, and those are all sitting on my side. So for Div, if you want to come with your card, or we'll just stamp you some up or whatever, we can sort that out. Just let me know. Dinner time, Michelle. I've just eaten my breakfast and nearly choked on a bit of apple peel. That was a really good start to the day. Never mind. Let's move on. So we've answered that question. Now here's for something completely different. It struck me the other day that we had a special set of stamps and dies and papers and things came out last Christmas while stocks last. And certainly here in the UK, they are still available on the shop. So I thought I'd drag them out again, and we'd have a quick look at them, just to remind ourselves that they're there, and to say, if you didn't get them last year and you still think, oh, I do quite like those, they are still there. So we've got this set of 2 stamp sets, the Christmas Rose set 1 and set 2. This was quite unusual in that the set 1 is a photopolymer stamp and set 2 is a cling stamp. So you've got this big rose, and then you've got the photopolymer, and this one here obviously you can use to fill in this one just here. So really beautiful. And then you've got these dies as well. So we've got the die that cuts out the rose, we've got some labels there, and we've got these nice sort of lattice pieces and some fancy corners. So some really lovely dies going on. And then there was these pretty papers, and obviously I've cut into them and I've used them, but these have got foiling on one side and swirls and pine cones. Yeah, a real nice little collection of papers as well, and really nice little set, because obviously, you know, it's something a bit different to have the Christmas roses, and it's something that sort of, I would imagine, is sort of quite universal. It won't matter whether you're somewhere that has 6 foot of snow at Christmas, or whether you tend to spend Christmas Day on the beach. Whichever end of that spectrum you're in, the idea of the roses, I'm sure, works. So really nice papers, really nice stamp set, and some nice dies to go with it. So I thought, let's have a bit of a play. Let's grab this out and let's have a play with this. As I say, certainly here in the UK, it is still available on our store, and I shall put links up to that in the description when I edit the video. Good morning, Em. We're hoping that you had a good night, or as good a night as you have with tiny babies. So sending love to you all. from all of us. Yes, so Christmas rose. And does the die cut out the die cut roses? Let's have a look. I've got a feeling it doesn't all, but it does some. Look, like that. And that one just there. Beautiful. Do you think that's where we should start? Shall we start there, Michelle? Shall we start with die cutting a rose? Let me just... This paper is really pretty because it's got, I'm going to cut round it so that if I want to go back in and fussy cut any of those roses I can. But you've got sort of like this foil dots in the background, although we're going to lose those by die cutting it. They are really pretty. So there we go. Let's start by die cutting one of those roses. That's a good plan. So let's layer up these. I've got my magnetic ace on there. I'll run that through there. Look at that, so you've got your gold foiling on that rose. It's really pretty, isn't it? That's a good starting point. We'll move that to one side in a minute because I've got a feeling we're going to want more from that in a second. Just have a look. Let's grab some. Ooh. Just grabbing some gold foil. Let's take that slither of gold foil just there. Let's bring this back in. Nice thing obviously about having a magnetic plate is it going to sit just there quite nicely while we bring that through. That's pretty, isn't it? These the little bits that come out of it are quite pretty as well. They're almost like they almost look like little leaves, don't they? They'd be quite nice in an autumnal sort of card, wouldn't they? You could do an autumnal shaker card with those. I'm going to put those in that tray just there. I'm going to have another border. So again, let's line that up. And run it through. Pretty, isn't it? When I saw it the other day still on the shop, I thought, oh gosh, I've not seen anybody flag that up. Well, it's not in our catalogue, is it? So I suppose we're not remembering that it's still there. So I thought it was worth a reminder. It's really pretty, isn't it? Really pretty if you were sort of wrapping something. Almost like a ring, a coronet. Yeah. pretty. And more miniature autumn leaves. Let's pop those to one side. So we've got our flower, we've got 2 sets of gold borders. Let's bring in some garden green, and that's called olive. Aha. And I'm going to cut this to 14.4 by 10. Just thinking about that's quite nice. That is 9.5 wide, so I'm just going to cut it to 13.9. So we've got a piece of that nice patterned paper on there. Our roses. Got a border top and bottom. May this Christmas fill your heart with warmth and love. That's quite nice, isn't it? That one just there. We have these nice little labels. So yeah, we could cut ourselves a garden green label. Might actually swing it round. No, we're just going to stick with that one. I'm going to get some gold embossing. Let's carry on that sort of gold theme that's going on. And let's grab some gold embossing. Let's give that a bit of a burst and heat that up. Isn't gold embossing just the best as you watch it pop? It is the magic, isn't it? So may this Christmas fill your hearts with warmth and love. I'm going to grab the thick Whisper White. So we've actually changed the orientation, so let's cut this Whisper White at 10.5 this way and score it at 14.9, and then we'll have it as a side opening card. I'm sure that he went down a storm at school this morning. I'm going to grab my box of pretties. And these were the little gold sparkly dots. What came out with this bundle, they have carried over into the catalogue, but this remains as stock last. So let us, not sure whether this Tombow is going to work for us this morning. It did get left with its lid off in the mayhem over the last few days. Right, so let's, it seems a pity to be putting glue on the back of that rosy paper, but that would definitely be too much, I think. Let's leave that there. Let's put our little, what would have been sensible, of course, if we had our sensible head on this morning, would have been to die cut this with the sticky back double-sided sheets, and then we would only have had to peel off the backing to stick that on. Now I've got a bit of a sticky finger. Let's get a block to press that down. There we go. It is just a pretty little, such a delicate little edging, isn't it? But very pretty. And obviously not just for Christmas. It is like ivy leaves, isn't it? It sort of gives that sort of like almost like an ivy leaf pattern. Beautiful. Let's stick that whole mat down. This glue is at the end. It's sort of not much left in it really. I have got another one on standby. Oh, that's looking a bit wonky. Never mind, I think we shall be able to disguise its wonkiness in a moment. I'm going to stick this on flat. We could add dimensionals to it. But I think we'll have this on flat and we'll have it coming like this. So then we can add dimensionals to that. So there we are. There was a question answered. Can you die cut the paper with the dies? Yes, you can. And then you get all the benefits of that beautiful foiling. And add that in with its that gold embossed greeting, and then we'll just take some of these gold glittery enamel dots and we'll We'll have a little smattering of those going around. There. It's a nice bit of blingy, shiny card using those, just the papers really in the background there, and a bit of die cutting. Morning, Molly. So let's have a play with something else. Let's just have a combination of these flowers. Now obviously this beautiful big rose is fabulous just to colour in, so you don't need the other stamp set to do the filling in. You can just get your pens out or your watercolours out or whatever and just go for it and colour that in. But for now we will thick whisper white. Let's just get some ordinary whisper white. Grab a bit of cherry cobbler. It looks as if it's got a bit battered. Let's have a nice new bit of cherry cobbler. I do love cherry cobbler. It does tend to be only this time of the year that we use it, doesn't it? I'm going to come in 13.9 by 9.5 on here. But it is a really lovely deep sort of Christmassy red. We'll put it to one side for now until we decide how we're going to use it. But let's stamp up this stamp. So I think what I'm going to do actually, it is a big stamp, and the bigger the stamp, the more there is that margin to not quite, let's take that off, we're not going to make a wreath with it, are we? The bigger the stamp, the more there is sort of the margin to just miss a bit, and this obviously is where Stamparatus comes into its own. So let's line that piece of card up on these grid lines and anchor it down, and then I'm going to take that stamp so if you do already have this stamp set, this is sort of a bit of a flag to, hey, did you know it was still in the shop? Get it out and start playing. A reminder that it's still there and it's still beautiful. If you haven't got this stamp set and dies and things, well, it's still there in the shop. And it is still beautiful and still so versatile. I mean, that rose on its own, you can disguise the other foliage with different colours, or just fussy cut it. Fussy cut bits out, add in different leaves, play around with it. It then becomes useful for so many things. I think we'll give that a bit more oomph. It's not bad, but I think a little bit more won't go amiss. Still just there, isn't it? Which is just there somewhere. That's better. Right, I'm going to leave that there, because actually the other thing the Stamperotus is going to be quite useful for is lining up these other stamps. And obviously if we'd have wanted to make more than one of these, we can just swing plates round and get them all lined up, all ready to go, and we can go into mass production. But let's start with the roses. So here we have our 2 roses. Let's line those up there. Now actually we could go what colour we like with our roses, obviously. And we are going to have to, obviously, as I said at the beginning, that big stamp is a cling stamp. The small ones are photopolymer ones. So we'll have to realign our roses, but that's not a problem. Let's put that back in there, but we've added our mat now. Try once more with feeling, but we can still go with whatever colour we fancy for our roses, but I think I'm going to stick to cherry cobbler for those. I might have a bit of shaded spruce for some of the background bits. Let's see. Right, I'm going to come in with cherry cobbler just because I want to play cherry cobbler. Excuse me. Left it there too long. Let's release the suction on that slightly. That'll do. Right, so let's ink this up. So these are distinctive stamps. Going to a bit in the middle there that didn't quite want to take. Just going to move that over a squidge. Better. So we've got a really dark red rose there. In all my wiggling around, didn't have that quite lined up, so let's just use our blender pen and drag that out slightly. Put that to one side and let's see what next in our build up. Next is these leaves just here and that bit of green foliage just there. So what we could do is we can either go all one colour, or we could use our pens and a pickle. It definitely doesn't want to pick up. It is sticking so beautifully. To that picture that it doesn't want to pick up the stamp. Thank you. Okay, so what I think I'll do is I'm going to take some shaded spruce. I'm going to stamp those leaves with shaded spruce. Might come in again. And I was thinking I might do that a different colour, but actually I think I'm going to leave it. I think the different texture on it gives it a different look. Hi Nita, hi Sally. Let's come in now with where are we going next? Here. Line that up. And definitely moved. Okay, shaded spruce again. Let's give it another layer. And then we've got this one just here. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Catch up with you very soon. Let's move that one. Yes. And very cleverly colours it all for you as well. I mean, obviously you can just pick up your pens and do this, but I love the way it also goes round all the berries and things. So there's all our leaves. So then what we've got in here is we do have sort of all the stamps for these berries. We have our little pine cone. So let's have a look. We've got a... Can we match these up? That's that one, look. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to leave that where it is. I'm actually going to pick that up with a block. These magnets to one side. I think I'm going to take some bumblebee. I'm sure they're not supposed to be yellow. but why not? Let's, excuse if my head gets in your way. Let's line those up there. Beautiful, that's that one. This one is that you? I do believe it is. You've got those dots there, those there and those there. That's you. And then last, but by no means least, on the yellow dotty front, we have you. And then let's grab some soft suede and this itsy bitsy little pine cone. And we'll have that one there, and that one there, and that one there. Managed to get a funny little mark on there. Just going to grab my cherry cobblet ink and a blender pen. Fill in a bit more around that edge, just where we missed it. Really nice Merry Christmas just there that we might do something with. Shaded spruce is the colour we've used with that for our leaves. Excellent. So let's move this out of our way for a minute. I'll clean all those up in a second. When we've finished recording, I've managed to get a few inky blobs on there, but we can work on those in a minute. That's what we have embellishments for. Let's put the lid on this ink pad so that we don't dunk our card in it. So I'm going to make a sort of first size mat, so that's 14.4 by 10 for us here. This was my granddaughter's baby brother that was born, yes, so Edison Lester came into the world on Friday morning, hence why my live was late on Friday morning, because I did the school run, dashed back, all good fun, and I kept it secret from you. How good was I? 14.9 by 10.5. actually have either any shaded spruce or any cherry cobbler ribbon. But we do have both shaded spruce and cherry cobbler blends. So let's go with some cherry cobbler ribbon. And let's just colour that in. A nice cherry coloured ribbon. Leave that to dry just a second. Let me just grab something to clean my glass mat. Although it dries really quickly and is not too likely to transfer colour, let's just get rid of it just in case. Then what I think we'll do is, my workspace is getting smaller and smaller and smaller again. I need to take some time to clear some space. I'm going to take Fancy Corners. Let's pop that white card there. And let's lay down those two Fancy Corners. Oh, it actually cuts out the complete corner, but that's not a problem. What I might do actually, those are really pretty. What I'm now tempted to do, let's get rid of all those bits. Let's cut two Fancy Corners from here. Let's put that there and that there. We could colour those and do all sorts of things with them, couldn't we? Let's set that to one side. But what I think I will do, let's have a bit of a rummage and I can see you. I just haven't got a hand on the bag yet. This one. Let's take some Bumblebee card. And let's cut ourselves so they make really gorgeous embellishments to add on to all sorts of things, don't they? You could cut those out. I nearly did gold foil, but I thought no, actually let's not. Off you come. Let's have Bumblebee. Sort that out in a moment. As we want 2 more. Have those. Let's go pop, pop. Hold that up. And let's have a little look at this. I'm putting this together now. So I'm going to start with, I'll start with finding my glue. Really might have to find another one in a minute, because that's really getting to the end of its usefulness. That's a little better, isn't it? Oh, now I've got something wet on there. Then let's put down this mat. I'm just going to put a little blob in each corner just so that that holds down too. Let's take our little corners, pop out all the bits, and put some glue on those. One. Two. So we're just fitting those, oh, or not, inside a little aperture. We've obviously got quite close to the edge on that, and that's just ripped slightly, but that's okay, we can rebuild you. And last but by no means least, our last little bumblebee corner. They're like little antlers, aren't they? There might even be something you could do with that to make it almost deer-like. But these are definitely, these little corners definitely are not a just for Christmas embellishment. Use those for all sorts of things. I think we'll have that. And we just need, needs to add in a greeting, but actually I'm not sure that the big greeting is going to be quite right, so I'm going to have a bit of a let's grab the itsy bitsy greetings just here. And perhaps that's Season's Greetings. I quite like the font on that. A little bit of and I think we'll have that. We'll have that in Cherry Cobbler. When I can find it. Let's just trim that right down. Does it need a tiny bit of red behind it? But I think it does only need to be the smallest margin. We'll make that a very narrow border. Let me get my big scissors. Let's add that on with some couple of dimensionals. Up you come. Look there. Ouch. think I'm going to get some of the gilded gems. And we'll just put in a few of those, obviously using them to highlight any little tiny blobs in the background. And we will of course need to put a white insert on the inside of that card, because you're not easily going to be able to write on garden green, but so that's something else we can do, is just add an insert. So there we are, a couple of very different looking cards. This one predominantly focusing on papers, this one on that stamp set with the infill stamps, and using some of those sort of corners. This one's using that sort of little border just there, one of the label dies. So really pretty. So it was really pretty when it came out as a special last year. Still really pretty, still really versatile, and still in the shop. So look out for the links for that later. And say if you want to find out about some good stamp sets for using with sympathy cards, that was right at the beginning. Go back to the beginning, we went through a few that are available that I've certainly picked off of my shelf that are good for that job. And I will then be back later in the week, be back live on Friday, and hopefully popping up and down for various things in between time. But in the meantime, have a really lovely week, and I'll see you soon.